Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
The Uganda National Museum, a place where unforgettable memories are created. Traditions are found and a connection to our Paul is reinforced. It is not only a testimony to the history of our nation, but also impacts knowledge of cultural and natural heritage to the present and future generations for their enjoyment. Through a variety of activities and exhibitions, we gather to discover our traditions and create new ones. The Uganda Museum is our country's cultural icon that makes it accessible for the next generations to come together as our story unfolds and represents the interplay of our country's past and present. It is in our history, but also in how it has evolved to embrace optical satisfaction and new influences. Our identity as a country is not only a moment in time, but also a journey of where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. We invite you to experience the authentic heritage, rich history of Uganda. Welcome to the Uganda National Museum.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
Go to the church,
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, recorder. Did you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Weewaawo lunaku lwakubiri ennaku z'omwezi ziri 5 tuli mu mwezi gwa 8 omwaka 2025 kwaniriza nnyo gwe eyekumidde ku the Alternative Digital TV naffe twasonze dda okubanga tukuweereza ebyo ebiba bituuseewo gy'otaabadde nzikiriza nkwagalize amakya amalungi nga bwe nkuwa amawulire gaffe gano amanyuvu ddala kutuuseeko ebyo ebyatuuseewo mu bitundu gy'otaabadde. Mbakulisaayo nnyo mwenna abagenze ennambole okulaba omupiira wakati wa Uganda Cranes awamu ne ttiimu eya Algeria yadde ng'ebintu oba oliawo okusayidi ya Uganda tebyatambudde bulungi. Eno y'emboozi gye ngenda osooka nayo okuweereza ggwe omulabi waffe owa The Mighty Drive kujjukiza nti tubeera wano okuva ku Mande okutuuka ku Lwokutaano. Essaawa zibeera 2 endagaane okutuuka ssaawa 4 ez'akarasamyanzi. Story ya CHAN competitions omupiira gwasimbudde eggulo wakati wa Uganda Cranes ne ttiimu ya Algeria wadde nga tegunnaba kubanga gutandikibwa gia yabadde nnene mu kibuga Kampala ne Uganda okutwaliza awamu twalabye nga abantu beeyiwa ennambole okutandika n'essaawa 6 ez'omutuntu ebivvulu nga biyisibwamu mu kitundu Kampala. Abantu balabiddwako nga wamaggwe beetimbye langi za Uganda nga beetegekedde omupiira guno. Ebyokwerinda bibadde binywevu naddala nnyo ku nguudo eziyingira Nambole omulinga Kireka Nambole Road. Ebyokwerinda byabadde biyitirivu, enguudo ezimu zasiringiddwa nga abantu tebasobola kutambula na bidduka byabwe, abamu balabiddwako nga batambuza bigere. Obuwagizi bwabadde buyitirivu. Twafunye okwogera kwa abamu ku bakulu abakulira Uganda Cranes muri Alan Okero ngono ye team captain yabadde atusuubiza nti kigenda kutambula bulungi nnyo. Uganda Cranes yabadde yakuwangula okusinziira ku bigambo bye, nga n'omukulu assistant coach wa Algeria ng'ono si mulala ye Majid Bogera naye yabadde atusuubiza nti ttiimu ya Algeria ebadde neetegefu ekimala okuyingira ensiike okukwatagana ne Uganda Cranes. Twawule oba oli awo abalenzi ku basajja, wabula gye byawunzikidde ng'omupiira Uganda ekubiddwa ttiimu eno y'abanafu aba Algeria goals 3 ku bwereere, nga goals za Algeria zateebeddwa abasambi okuli Gezara, Mezian ne Bayazid. Goals 3 bwetyo Uganda newangulwa bannaffe bano aba Uganda Cranes. Ne basubya obukadde 30 President Museveni bwe yabadde asuubiza okuweereza buli muzannyi wa Uganda Cranes kasita bafuna win. Obubaka buno bwatuusiddwa Right Honorable Speaker Anita Among. Yagambye nti President yabadde mwetegefu okuba nga ate aweereza obukadde obwo obusoba mu 30 eri buli muzannyi wa Uganda Cranes. Ku kisaawe kwabaddeko ba top officials mu gavumenti ya Uganda bangiko, omuli ne First Lady wa Uganda Janet Kataha Museveni. Wabula ekyo tikyalemeseza Uganda Cranes okubanga oba oli awo performing bulungi tiimu y'abanaffe aba Algeria bwetyo neyeetika engule. Empaka zino zikyatambulira ddala nga Uganda eri mu kibinja C, omuli Niger, Guinea ne Algeria gye twasambye olunaku lw'eggulu awamu ne South Africa, nga Niger ejja kuba esamba ne Uganda ennaku z'omwezi zijja kubeera 8 omwezi guno gwa August, ssaawa zijja kubeera 2 ez'akawungeezi. Then oluvannyuma tuzeeko Niger ennaku z'omwezi 11 lujja kuba lunaku lwa Monday, essaawa era zijja kuba 2 ez'akawungeezi. Ne South Africa ennaku z'omwezi zijja kubeera 18 lunaku lujja kubeera lwa Monday, ssaawa 2. Bwe nvaayokko eyo mu mawulire ga sports, njagala njolekere butereevu ku kibiina ki NRM, nga NRM Tribunal ke kakiiko akateekebwawo okubanga bawuliriza ensonga ezaabo abaali beemulugunya mu kamyufu ke twavaamu akaba members of parliament ku mutendera gwa primaries ez'ekibiina ki NRM. Kinajjukirwa nti tribunal eno yafuna okwemulugunya okuyitirivu, emivuyo gyali mingi nga bwe tuzze tukunnyonnyola wano mu the Might Drive n'abaweereza ab'enjawulo. Emivuyo gyali mingi ddala mu kalulu kano. Twalaba abantu nga abamu battibwa, abamu bakubibwa amasasi, abamu bayisibwa bubi ne bavaawo n'ebisago eby'amaanyi. Awo nno NRM yateekawo tribunal eyo ewuliriza abo abalowooza nti oba oli awo okuwangula kwabwe kwataataganyizibwa oba abawangula bawangula mu bukyamu. Tribunal eno nga okusinziira ku Enoch Barata ng'ono yakulira ebyamateeka mu NRM yategeezezza nti tribunal eno yabadde yakukomekereza leero okuwuliriza petitions z'ababaka aba parliament ze baleeta, era nga kino kigenda okukomekereza kuno kujja kubanga kwe kulina okuwa judgment eri emisango egyaloopebwa. Tumanyi nti bawa petitions ezisukka mu 380 ekiraga nti okwemulugunya kwali kw'amaanyi ddala. Oluvannyuma emabegako eggulo twalabye nga Hanifa Kawoya ng'ono yeggwanyiza ekyomubaka ow'Amawogola West yazze okudefendinga obuwanguzi bwe ng'ono avuganyizibwa Wilberforce Begumisa agamba nti Hanifa Kawoyo ono yawangula mu ngeri ettaali nnungamu. Omulala yabadde asuubirwa ku lunaku lw'eggulo yabadde former speaker of parliament Right Honorable Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga ng'ono ye ate teyalabiseeko mu kakiiko kano wabula yasindise bannamateeka be bakoze ku nsonga ze ez'okuba ng'ate munnaye banja ensonga zaabwe n'akalulu nga bwe kaabatambulira. Oluvannyuma NRM Party ejja kuba ng'ewuliriza oba NRM Party Tribune ejja kuba ng'ewuliriza kati ensonga z'aba local governments oba aba governments ez'ebitundu abayina okwemulugunya kwabwe bajja kuba ng'ate okutandika ne leero batandika okureceivinga petitions zaabwe awo nga bwe basiringa off okubanga ate bawuliriza ba members of parliament. Enteekateeka eno egendera ddala mu maaso era nga Digital TV tujja kuba tukuweereza ebyo ebinaaba bivudde eruuyi eyo. Nzikiriza kati nkutwale mu kibiina ki National Unity Platform ng'eno okusunsula naddala bakansala ku kyagenda mu maaso olunaku olw'eggulo. Kibiina ki NUP kyabadde kisunsulamu bakansalas mu vetting process yaabwe mu bakutuuliza wali ne bakusoya ebibuuzo okulaba nga obaolyawo osobola obukulembeze. Okusinziira ku deputy spokesperson wa National Unity Platform oba amyuka omwogezi w'ekibiina kino ng'ono Alex Waiswa Mufumbiro agambye nti results za vetting eno z'okusunsulamu zijja kuba nga ate zitwalibwa mu the executive board for the final decision. Okusalawo okwenkomeredde kujja kuba nga ate kukolebwa gye bayise the executive board eya National Unity Platform. Oluvannyuma lwa vetting process eno bye banaaba bakuŋŋaanyizza results za kutwalibwa mu executive board eya NUP balabe nga ate basunsula. Mujjukira nti electoral management committee ye committee handling vetting process eno oba okusunsulamu okw'ekibiina ki National Unity Platform. Wabula kino tekibuzeemu oba olyawo ate enkeŋŋera n'okwemulugunya okwabamu ku bacandidates nga bagamba nti kino kiri mu kulwawo ate balina bingi ebyokuba nga oba olyawo batuukiriza okugeza okuwaayo okufuna nominations okuva mu the Electoral Commission ey'eggwanga lyonna. Bagamba nti NUP etambula kasoobo naddala nnyo the Electoral Management Committee yaabwe nti etambula kasoobo nnyo oba olyawo ekiyinza okuba nga kikosa bannaffe bano abeesimbyewo. Bwe batafuna kaadi mu bwangu kyandibaviiramu obuzibu obw'okukampeininga nga bukyali oba olyawo n'okuba nga batuukiriza the Electoral Commission ey'eggwanga byesaba. Wabula abakulu okuva mu kibiina ki National Unity Platform bagambye nti abantu babeere bagumiikiriza ddala kuba katandika butandisi balina okutwala results ezo nga bwe nakutegeezezza eri balina okuzitwala eri executive board yaabwe eweeyo okusalawo okwenkomeredde. Okusalawo kwayo kwe kujja okuba okusembayo ng'era tekuddibwamu. Be bajja okuba nga basalawo ani atwala kaadi nani atagitwala. Nzikiriza ate mu bwangu obwaddala ngendeko mu kibiina ki DF oba kiyite Democratic Front ng'eno nno okusunsula nakwo kugenda mu maaso. Tuli mu jiya ya kalulu 2026 akabindabinda. Buli kibiina kikola bukwakku okubanga oba olyawo kisunsula abanakikwatira bendera mu kalulu ka bonna. Nga mu DF mu entambuza y'emirimu nayo eri mu ngeri y'emu. Twategeezeddwa nti abantu abasukka mu 287 be bamaze okuba nga ate oba olyawo basunsulwa bakwate bendera y'ekibiina kino ki DF. Okusinziira ku abakulembeze mu kibiina kino bagamba nti beesiga vetting process yaabwe nti terimu kyekubiira. Okusunsula kwe bakola kugendereddwamu okuleeta abo be balowooza nti bajja kutuusa obuweereza eri bannansi nga tebalina kirumira kyonna oba tebalina challenge gye baleeta mu community. Okusinziira ku Moses Baranaki ono nga yeegwanyiza kya Lord Mayor yavuddeyo n'alaga obuwagizi bwe eri ekibiina ki DF ng'agamba nti ye yeesiga nnyo enkola yaabwe eya vetting oba ey'okusunsulamu ng'agamba nti ye agirabamu obwerufu obutuufu. Ate ye omubaka wa Parliament owa Entebbe Municipality ng'ono ye Michael Kakembo Mbwatekamwa naye y'omu ku baavuddeyo ate ne bakwata bendera ey'ekibiina kino ki Democratic Front nga awagiddwa oba asembeddwa ssentebe w'ekibiina Walter Lubega Mukaku awamu ne ssaabawandiisi w'ekibiina kino Mike Mabike. Abantu bakyajjira ddala okufuna empapula oba okufuna bendera nga baagala bakakasibwe bafune kaadi y'ekibiina kino. Okuvetinga kukyagendera ddala mu maaso era nga okusinziira ku information oba obubaka obuva mu bakulu twategezeddwa nti kwakomekkerezebwa ennaku z'omwezi nga 23 omwezi ogw'omunaana ate oba oli awo tulabe nga DF yeetaba mu lwokaano n'ebibiina ebirala okubanga batuusa obuweereza bwabwe bwe basuubira eri bannayuganda. Okwogera kwa omukulembeze w'ekibiina kino Mathias Mpuuga Nsamba yalaze nti DF si kibiina kyakuyisa mu maaso ng'alaga nti akabanga akatono ke babaddewo amaanyi galabwako anti bafunye abantu abasingako ennamba y'abantu yeeyongera buli lukya ekibawa essuubi bo nga aba DF. Tulinze tulabe obanga omuliro gunaatambula bwe gutyo obanga abo abakutte bendera oba oli awo bayitamu. Akalulu kakyagendera ddala mu maaso, pressure yako egenda mu maaso. Twakava mu kano aka NRM era nga buli kibiina kirwana bweziringirira okulaba nga kiyisaawo abaakyo. Nzikiriza ate kati nkutwale mu mawulire gaffe ag'ebunaayira. TikTok TV yasalawo okuwa amawulire mu nsonda yansi. Ng'essaawa zino we twogerera nga tension obunkenke bweyongedde wakati wa Russia awamu n'Omumerika. The United States of America awamu ne Russia akaliro ko ensi eri mu kawulira. Anti bano beeraze eryanyi buli omu n'asikayo gyasuubira nti emmundu ye etagambwako. Kino kyazze oluvannyuma lwa President Putin okulangira Russia awamu ne India ng'agamba nti zonna economy zaabwe ziri mu kufa. Kyeyagambye nti they are dying economies ng'agezaako okunnyonnyola obusungu buno abujja kuba nti eggwanga li India lisuubula oil oba amafuta oil and gas okuva mu ggwanga lino erya Russia. Kino kyanyiza nnyo president wa eggwanga lino erya America. Tukira nti Russia bagezaako okugiteekako sanctions oba envumbo ku byamaguzi byayo nga baagala banafuye ebyenfuna basobole okugiremesa oba oli awo bo kye bayita okuwamba Ukraine. Wabula bagezaako okulemesa ago amawanga agaba gasuubula n'eggwanga lino erya Russia ate oba oli awo ekibeera nga si kyangu. Tekibeera kyangu okulemesa Russia kubanga erina amaanyi. Kati oluvannyuma lwa President Trump okulaba nga talina ngeri yonna gyawangula engeri eno eyo economic sanctions ku ggwanga erya Russia, yasazeewo n'agenda ku kibanja kye n'awa okumokinga eggwanga erya Russia n'erya India ng'agamba nti economy zaabwe ziri mu kufa. Ekyanyiziza Abarussia nabo ne bamwanukula nga bagamba nti economy z'ogamba okufa kogeza n'otukwatako twandikwatako. Gye bayise the dead hand system ng'eno etegeeza kuggyayo nuclear weapons zissabyalo eziteetaaga executive order yonna. Ebeera systematic ng'essaawa yonna oba tulisiza ate munnaye ensi ebeesobola okusaanawo. Kino kyawaliza President Trump okuyimbula abawanvu n'abampi n'alagira emmeeri ezisinga amaanyi mu ggwanga lya Amerika okuvaayo. Twalabye mu Pacific Ocean ng'emmeeri ziyite zisubmarine zirubbira nga zivaayo ne zirawuna ebifo ebimu bye yayise appropriate positions ng'alaga eryanyi nti essaawa yonna Russia kasita ejjayo eryanyi nabo tebatudde nti United States of America ate tegambwako. obunkenke bwo bukyeyongerera ddala. Russia bwe yalabye nga biri bityo negenda eri munywanyi waayo China ne bakola joint military drills nga bw'obadde olaba ku screen awo ennyonyi zissabyalo ebyokulwanyisa ebitagambwako zi missile ne nuclear weapons zonna ne beegezaamu okulaba nga bakola joint military drills zino okukakasa America nti kyeriko nno tekitegeera. Obunkenke bweyongerera ddala wakati w'amawanga gano gakirimaanyi tulinze tulabe ki ekivaayo. President Trump yagambye nti obubaka okuva ewa Dmitry Medvedev ng'ono yali omukulembeze w'eggwanga eri Russia bwe yayogedde engeri gye yayogeddemu nti bannamerika tebalina kubanga ate babutwalanga obw'okusaaga nga bagamba nti Russia tesaagangako era mulabe yennyini bamwetegekere nga bwe kyetaagisa. Akaddeko kalabika okubanga katuuse ku ntandikwa y'enkomerero yaako. Nzikiriza mbe nga nkweresa nkulekere omumbejja Farida Bikobere nga bwakuleetera omugenyi waffe olunaku olwaleero. Nze Kenneth Lwemirembe Lwatsimbira teweerabira okulayikinga okusubscribinga ku channel yaffe n'okutandika on the notification bell. Omukama akunkumire tulabagana olundi.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi, welcome to the Political Dice.
Empishi ya byobufuzi.
It's controversial,
Purely political,
well researched,
accurate and global.
Oyagala bya parliament oba council.
Bya state house oba ghetto.
Ani ayuga ku ground.
Ani bwe babuze.
Okimanyi nga Dr. Kiza Besigye aleese amaanyi.
Olwofadda bafutsoli abateeseemu obuvaazi.
Oba yo DP eri kuki?
Olwojema.
Bano ba MKCG bo baddawa.
Abo bafuna CDF bamala tebabanja. Olwo baba anti bange bali kuki?
Abo bo akina kulabisa simanyanga posturing tebabiri bali mu structure building. Naye ate ono ye.
Ani oyo oba?
Ye ali kuki?
Oyo tumuleketa gamwanyiga mangu.
Ebe ndabena birindira nokuda Political Dice ku the Alternative Dig Talk nange teditenje ewamune
Farida Bikobere
buli wa Sunday
esawa 2.
The Ugandan National Museum, a place where unforgettable memories are created. Traditions are found and a connection to our Paul is reinforced. It is not only a testimony to the history of our nation, but also impacts knowledge of cultural and natural heritage to the present and future generations for their enjoyment. Through a variety of activities and exhibitions, we gather to discover our traditions and create new ones. The Uganda Museum is our country's cultural icon that makes it accessible for the next generations to come together as our story unfolds and represents the interplay of our country's past and present. It is in our history, but also in how it has evolved to embrace optical satisfaction and new influences. Our identity as a country is not only a moment in time, but also a journey of where we have been, where we are, and where we are going. We invite you to experience the authentic heritage, rich history of Uganda. Welcome to the Uganda National Museum.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
tugendeeko ku mpewo zaffe eza the alternative digital kabanyanze Farida Bikobere njaga okukulisaayo oba okwebaza omukulu Kenneth atuwadde Mighty Global Updates ndowooza mutegedde bulungi nnyo ensonga nga bwe zitambula mu ggwanga Uganda here at TikTok munaye tukeera ku makya okubanga ate tubategeeza ebiba byabaddewo mu nsi yonna ate nno ne tulyoka tuleeta show yaffe mu bujjuvu sobola okubanga ate tutambulira ku page a lot is happening in the whole world but a lot is happening in Uganda kubanga isokera ddala we are hitting numbers for abasinga okubeera ne ba refugees abangi and the UN is saying they do not have the money era nga bano bagamba nti bagenda kubanga ate basobolera ddala kuwa $5 per refugee per week. That is really bad and ate nga olabira ddala nti abayingira ensi Uganda nga banoonya obuddamu munaye bakyali bangi ddala ebyobufuzi wano e Uganda bikyakwatira ddala omuliro because tugenda mu kalulu akaboona aka 2026 katiggwa omuvubuka nga olina ekifo kyeweegwanyiza kyonna eno show yiyo because I have a youth leader here, he's a lawyer agenda kubanga ate atunyonyola ebintu nga bwe biri ate ngera ayina we yeegwanyiza awulira ayagala kubanga ate akola representation ndowooza mu kukkiriza kwe agamba nti abaliwo tebakoze representation ennungi tugenda kubanga twogera ku nsonga nnyingi nnyo naye ate okusingira ddala tugenda concentrating ku bavubuka. How are you participating in these elections? Are you being participated or you are participating? Are these old faces using you oba muli taking a chances okulabanga ate nammwe taking up positions on your own? Tufetukoyo hulabanga abavubuka mukaba mutugamba we are the biggest manya bichi we take 75% of the population. Are you using your numbers as the force oba mwenyumiriza mukubanga mwe abasinga obungi? So today the big question is, can youth shape Uganda's 2026 elections? Can the youth shape Uganda's 2026 elections? Kati answer erigwe nange olowooza mugenda kushapinga kusinzira ku bye muli mukola oba nedda. And joining me in studios is Mr. Maseruka Sadat. He's the head of Human Rights Committee mu kibiina kya Democratic Front. The last time I had Maseruka, it's me who hosted him.
Yes.
He was ant all purple nga balbu yakira ddala ng'ogiraba nga we were not in darkness, and right now it is conservation of the environment. It is the tree. We are planting trees all over the country. What happened? What changed? What forced him to cross? We shall find out. I'm happy to have you here.
I am grateful that I have been offered another opportunity before the alternative digital to talk to the viewers this morning. Sadat Maseruka is my name. Well, for clarity, yes, I am the head for the Human Rights Committee, or the coordinator for human rights in the Democratic Front. And also, to inform you is that it's not all about the environment that the symbol of the trees signifies.
It is about what?
It signifies the growth and nurturing of competent and suitable preparation of good leaders.
Whoa.
So you cannot have a tree that just springs up. It has to at least have roots where it is embedded and it bases. And that is the leadership that we believe that this country should have.
Wow.
Yes.
So what happened? What changed?
Why
DF now? Why not ANT?
Yes, well, I have been in my former home for the reason of advancing one as a person in my political journey. Secondly, to see that we collectively as a group, we bring meaningful change in the country. However, where you don't see personal growth, where you do not find that it is either still within your strategy to advance and work for the people that you actually yearn to serve, it is better you change tactic. And it is in that spirit, not out of spite, that I find that the strategy, the ways that the ANT was moving then, do not in any way represent my aspirations and those of the people that I believe that I should serve. Therefore, I chose to find somewhere else that I can probably participate and see my ideas being implemented.
So does that mean mbu DF agenda promoting your ideas? Do you associate with the objectives of DF other than the ant? What is different? Because
there is nothing fundamentally different between the two. Because all of them talk about a principle and good leadership that is embedded in one, having well-nurtured leaders.
Yes.
Those that are respectful, those that know what to do, when to do it. So there is nothing fundamentally different. The only difference is the way those ideas are being pronounced and brought out to the public. Where in the former home it is a silent strategy, here we advocate them for them.
It is a loud one.
Yes. Therefore people should know that yes, whereas there are others, also there are good leaders this side. It's not that people should see for themselves that good leaders are here. No.
Talking about principle, we don't want to juxtapose DF and ANT because omukulembeze wa ANT sala nyondogere Lungereza waneno njaga ensonga zina abantu bazitegere bulungi. Omukulembeze wa ANT ye muntu alina principles nyingi as vis-a-vis the leaders of DF. So bwobanga oli muntu wa principle, oli muntu wa ideals.
Yes, ideals, principles nazo zivaringa. Gwe principles otwale ezokubera reserved, ezokubera
reserved to
yes. However, the principles of leaders that have been tested over time, the leader of the DF has them. It is not since obinti aliwali katingo mukulembeze abadde atestingidwa awulidde obuvunanyizibwa okumala ebbanga utali mwaka 10 itali myaka 10. So wotubanga tu benchmarkinga ku principles, we cannot compare the two because the principles are diverse. We have principles ezizo ninezange. However, we were comparing ezange nezizo waliwo difference. The issue is the principles I am talking about are principles is embedded in a leader asobola okutambuza ideas ezitwala bana Uganda maaso.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, wouldn't want to discuss the leadership of DF, so let us concentrate on the issues of the youth. Aba DF bajja kunyigira nga balaba balowooza nti banguze, but it is public knowledge though that a leader who awards himself a sum of shillings that isn't accounted for isn't a good leader to represent a country or the community. But away from that, we are looking at can youth shape Uganda's 2026 elections? Olowooza bavubuka togamba tuli bangi. Can you shape the results eziyinza okuva mu kalulu akabiri 26 ke tuyingira kubanga omwezi gwa September tugenda tandika nominations, electoral commission egenda kubanga ate etandikira ddala okola ebyo fe bye tulabako nti akalu kaba katandisa okuyinda mu maanyi agaddala. Naye njagala okulaba batugamba mbu numbers don't lie. Naye olowooza abavubuka tuli mu kukozesa numbers zaffe zino as a political force, oba we are just proud to be a big number naye nga tetuteekinze advantage?
Yes, nzija ku question. However, njagala nsooke clarifying ku nsonga emu. Ngira kiri kikwatagana n'abavubuka n'obukulembeze. Ekisooka echa service award which you have brought, it is a product of misinformation. Why? Somebody, yes, was awarded for his exemplary
somebody
service.
Awarded himself. Don't misinform people.
I am proceeding.
Yeah.
And the matter went to court. And the matter was dismissed in court. Nobody has appealed that decision. However, and the court decision was in public. Yes, that there was nothing illegal for a commission to sit, and they say that from today onwards, any leader of opposition that serves this country, it has to start somewhere, by the way, will be awarded. So let us wait for others that are occupying that position, whether they will not receive the same award. So, chinzizai ku the kind of misinformation jetu parroting aba jetu embracing nga abavubuka netulemesa n'okulowooza nti tulina ekyama kukisobola okukolera eggwanga. Having numbers or being youthful or having that energy, it is not in any way a blank check okubeera okutakinga leadership. Amanyi gaffe tugakosezza nnyo okubanga spreading a misinformation, okubanga tukonjera batutambuza propaganda, so batulabanga a propaganda tool, batulabanga people that you can assemble n'olaga nti olina masses, but not people that can really take roles. So there must be a real change to shape up these elections in 2026. Can the youth shape the elections? Yes. They can definitely shape the elections, but in what capacity? Mu capacity tubadde tulimu nga ffe tutimba ebipande nga ffe bebasindika okukuba opponents, ffe basindika okwogera ebigambo ebisongovu ku social media ne publicly. Awo tuba tetujja kushapinga politics wa Uganda, tuba tumushapinga in the negative way. Abakuvubuka okuparticipatinga okushapinga politics wa Uganda, the participation must be nga besimbawo, nga batekawo a new generation of leadership, nga batekinga up responsibilities mu communities. Era nga baga nti mbanga mwagala obuwagizi ffe mu buweffe, so bolaba nti nebo tunulira formations eziriwo nti ziremeddwa okutegeera the role and creating a space okuleta abavubuka apya on the board. You cannot believe that all the current political parties, actually including what I'm talking, including where I belong, yes, nti there is a change of faces, but people of people that have been around for the last 20 to 30 years. So kakati how can the youth penetrate and shape the Ugandan politics in 2020 nga tebafunye muzinzi bo tebafunye webalabikira muki?
So limugamba nti gatekeeping is too strong for the youth to penetrate through.
The gatekeeping is strong. However, n'abavubuka tebeetadde mu position ekuba cycle gye gatekeeping. Okubanga oyita abavubuka 10, abasatu bajja kuba baagala kuvuma gwe bavuganya, tebaagala kulizoninga naye. Abataano bajja kubanga gwabwe gwakosa masozi zaabwe kulwanagana n'oyo gwe bakola ki. Wakirabe mu kalulu akawedde kibiina ekimu nga akategeka party primaries. Twalabyeyo mukadde akuba abavubuka oba baale bavubuka nga be balwanagana. Twalabyeyo mukadde benyigira mu kubba olwade bavubuka. So eyo shape gye twambadde okumala ebbanga. Ffe tutimba ebipande, ffe tukola violence, era ffe tulwanagana ne bannaffe. Ate nga tetuwagira balala, tetuwagira abavubuka bannaffe. Our wali issue nti the shaping of the political space in Uganda has to shift from creating and supporting strategically young people abasobola okutaking up leadership.
But how is that shift going to be created?
Yes, shift creating by the young people themselves. Kubanga wetuga nti tukyali available okutukosa mu violence, tetukyali available tukosa mu kuvuma, tetukyali available kubanga ffe tutimba ebipande, tuli only available nga tutula ku table how we are sharing these positions. How would you kulaba nti there is a shift in the mindset of those that are gatekeeping? Nti n'abavubuka bano beetaaga significant representation. Si kuveeri bakugambe nti muli bavubuka naye tuwadde obwa youth leader. Ati youth leader it is a given. However, there is a spiral of very many young aspirants abagala okwesimbawo kuba president. Balemeddwa okubeera nti balemeddwa okufuna spaces already an existing formation nti ebifo ebyo okubeera secretary general, okubeera president general, okubeera secretary treasurer general, okubeera mobilization secretary, babi gatekeeping nti it is only how can somebody who is, let me say 70 be a mobilization secretary or an organizing secretary that is going to organize a political party nga majority of the members bagenda kuba bavubuka. So kati ne batu keeping the avubuka mu shape nti ekyamwe kyaki
kyekyo kumugende mukolo gw'okutimba ebipande. Naye tugambe nti oba abavubuka nammwe temweteeseteese kimala kubalabamu busobozi bubaweesa bifo bino, because bwe tulaba political parties ezizze on board, DF erina abakulu bamabike. We have seen those are the same old faces we have seen for the past years. Erimu ba mukaku wetugenda mu PFF tulina the same old faces, the same Julodi Mayor, Salamu Musumba, same old faces. Betulabanga be batekinze before ebiri very very significant ngolabira ddala nti abavubuka bali badde batekinga those spaces. Tugamba nti abakulu bano tebabalaba mu busobozi.
First of all, njakuogerera ekibiina kyenvamu. Yes, it is not only those names that you have stated, we are comprising of the leadership of the
I've just mentioned a few, I didn't mention all.
For the few, the few I've mentioned, but the majority in those positions are young people. You look for the deputies in all those positions, or some of those few positions that you have mentioned. Secondly, okweteekateeka kubeerawo naye okweteekateeka okutalina way forward kwe kuleese embeera eno gye tulimu nti bakukwenya nti that at the unopportune time you will take over, but that time tekola ki ate in most cases bakuteekateeka to an extent nti by the time we bagambira nti kati now
it is your time to take
nga tokyali muvubuka
you transited.
You have already transited. Kakati ate ne bakuganga oli otandika okuba omuvubuka nakugamba nti ate tupapa obudde bwamwe bukyakola ki.
So baba keepingira ku false hope.
So there is a lot of gatekeeping and also mindset creation nti gwe oyina kulinda bakukwase button toyina kwerwanako kulaba nga otuukawo okola ki woyagala okutuuka. So in this setting no finding anti kizibu omuvubuka okuva ekabula soke nga ina ambitions ez'okubeera good leader nga abalina okumuteekateeka balina okumuguluminga be baliwa be babugenda omuwa full stop bwe batuuka okugaa nti kati now we are giving the opportunity nga sincerely takyali representation of the young people. So abavubuka balina okusooka okuba nti bali institute bamanya nti kakati wetubanga we are having a generational shift. Tulina ebintu ebyo tulina okuvaako. Tulina ebintu ebyo tulina okuba nti we are not available as mercenaries. We are available as fellow leaders. We are available to also hold the man. Tetujja kubeerawo nga bacuba nti waliwo campaign waliwo abagala bawerekera okunoonya akalulu avubuka ne bakuwa ebiri ne bambaza ne t-shirt. Mubeera available nga mwambadde amasuuti nammwe mulituula ku table on planning on how we are going to share these positions. Very simple.
Naye tutunuulire kale abavubuka tugamba nti over 70% of the population of Uganda they are under 30. Kakati abali under 30 bayinza batyo okukozesa advantage yaabwe nti bangi okubanga ate bayina change gye badrivinga.
You see, issue yokubeera under 30 nga temuli organized. It's a wastage of time. That is why tuli mu mbeera eno gye tulimu.
So abavubuka bayinza kubeera batyo organized.
Abavubuka balina okwerukulamu obukulembeze obuli recognized nationally. Njakuwa example.
Tulina youth councils.
That's where I'm going. Njakuwa example nti olwaleero tuli mu elections za National Youth Council. Youth Council nga bwe currently constituted mu teeka is not a true reflection and a representation oyo abavubuka bonna mu Uganda. Chairperson wa National Youth Council. Gwe nga abavubuka mu kitundu kyo. How would you feel the Youth Council? What is benefit kijofuna era contribution kijokola okulaba ngo omukulembeze abeerawo. Abavubuka abalondebwa okukulembera abavubuka balondebwa mu mbeera ki okuba nti babeera a reflection and a representation of the young people. Wetugenda mu National Youth Council. National Youth Council eina executive but 90% of the executive eya National Youth Council eba belonging to one political party.
Nanti mwe abavubuka abebibiina ebirala temu participating mu youth elections ezibeera ku byalo.
Belonging mu political party silwa kuba tetuparticipating ku byalo. No lwakubanga etteeka liteekawo embeera nti ne bweweesimba ku kyalo tusobola kukola ki?
Osobola. Let me tell you, Mr. Sadat. Abavubuka abalondebwa ku kakiiko k'ekyalo be balonda abagendo kikira abavubuka ku sub county. Aba sub county ne balonda ku district. Aba district ne balonda executive ya National Youth Council. Kakati bwe mubate participating from the very beginning ku villages. temusobola kubanga mugenda participating eri ku National Youth Council.
Kakati breaking it down. That election. The election of the National Youth Council at the village level is a public election. Which election must be participated in by all Ugandans below the age of 30.
Yeah, true.
Yes. So when did this election happen currently?
It has been happening. Electoral Commission.
I am proceeding. When did this election happen? I know it happened. When did it happen? It happened in these circumstances. There was no there was no adequate information as any other public election. By the way, a public election that is carried out nationwide is an election like that of the president. Everybody, there must be public holiday. That is one. One, there must be enough sensitization of the voters. Yes. Secondly, there must also be a representation of all shades of opinion. Therefore, public election yeyo wajirabawa ku village. Notuka ku byalo ebimu nga there are only 5 people nenga unawa political party emu. Kati noga mu participating. But jukira, we are in a multi-party system nti. Wetubanga tugenda okugamba nti tukola kalulu obanga tugenda okuleeta akalulu konna era omuntu yenna asobola okufollowinga cases ezibaddewo zikulaga nti ne mu Uganda bajiwabira East African Parliament, East African Court olwokuba nti yali eronda abakulembeze olwokuba nti balina numbers ennyingi ne beerabira nti tuli multi party abala bonna balina okubeera omukisa. That means newe tubanga tulonda ekyalo bwetuti tulina okulicognizera nti abavubuka wali aba ruling government n'abaki yes era ekyo it has to be depicted in the outcome of that election.
When you don't show interest, how am I supposed to include you?
Thank you so much. That was the question in that issue. That if they are not there, that means that political party is not there. But
I want to agree.
Yes, if you recognize that the political party is there, you must find mechanisms of embedding that political party in that election to get the legitimacy.
Whose responsibility is that? The Electoral Commission?
Yes, because it has to do current sensitization. I tell you, gwembulira webayita ku kyalo kyawe baga nti kyatugenda kulonda abavubuka oba wakera bukezi ku machano ulira nti balonza abavubuka.
Nalaba amawulire zendi wa mawulire. Ogwange gwa kutwala amawulire ku bantu.
Yes.
Kakati
munamole kankubulire wiki ejja bagenda kulonda abachairperson ba districts aba National Youth Council.
Eno wiki tubadde tulonda banane unionized workers. Banekolera jange. You see, these elections are being publicized.
These elections are carried out in secret. That is one. Two, there is a problem in the law of how these elections are conducted from the village to the national level. Kakati, in all those stages, omuvubuka ni wabanga kuchala wangudi because you cannot win everywhere. Ni wabanga kuchala wangudi. Tasobola kusuka ku sub county because of the system and the mechanism of that electoral college. Kakati, kati bwogamba nti outcome eyo ngevuddemu abakulembeze bonna nga balina one political party naye nga in the national politics you recognize that there are more than one political parties. How can that be a representation of the young people?
So how better should these youth elections be organized?
Yes, there must be proportional representation of all shades of opinion that are represented in this country.
But do you agree, mwenga aba opposition mulina ebyalo gye mutatuuka gye mutali? You do not take visit completely.
And that does not take away the fact.
So does that stop the election to take place?
That does not take away the fact that there must be proportional representation. Wakiri mu bitundu.
You are non-existent, so the election has to take place.
Listen, that means where the opposition, I'm following your narrative, and I believe that the opposition is everywhere in this country. However, nyenda na narrative yo nti kale
ebitundu opposition mweri
birabikire mu structures of National Youth Council.
Twalaba okulonda kwa youth election kawempe. I'm giving you an example ebitundu opposition mweri. Tewakulaba tewakugoberera. I'm just giving you an example of a village that participated in the youth elections. Ngatula Baba opposition, they were interested and they still participated.
No, they did not participate. There was the issue, because there are a lot of issues with the youth elections. However, nekinzizayo ku point eri eya representation ya National Youth Council eya organizing youth under a clear and stable umbrella. Yes, the election that happened in Kawempe, you clearly know that the candidates of the opposition were not allowed to nominate and they were not allowed to be to participate. That is so
they didn't have the requirements, those that were stopped.
You see, so you mean all over the country, the youth of the opposition did not have the requirements to contest.
Maseruka Sadat, do you know that mwenga aba opposition mutekinze nnyo obudde okwewozaako other than doing the right thing?
No, we are doing the right thing, and I'm telling you, we are preparing a constitutional petition to challenge that law. That is it. Because the moment that law is still in place, you will only get one political party, even if it is the DF that is in government. All the youth leaders will be of that political party, which is actually against the principles of multipartyism in this country. That's simple. And that is why abavubuka tulwana nnyo ku bintu ebitatuyamba netuleka ebyaffe bituyamba, because our energies would have been, first of all, to organize our youth organizations. First of all, the National Youth Council. Secondly, because ogenda okukiraba nti muwe youth council bebagenda okulonda youth MPs for the last 20 something years. You have never gotten an opposition MP from the youth structures. So you mean there are no opposition youth in Uganda? That is what it means. So where are they seen? No, because the National Youth Council Act and the elections of the National Youth Council from the village to the national and to the election of the youth MPs has a problem, the law.
I think, Banayu, what I would agree with you would be about the publicity. Nti Electoral Commission yinza okubanga tekola kimala kumanyisa abantu, but also I want to say nti bakandidates abagala okwesimbawo ku bwa youth MP, they do not involve themselves in the youth elections nga berabidde nti bano bebagenda okubanga basupportinga bebagenda okulonda nga batuuse eri mu electoral colleges. So
I don't
you
agree
as a candidate that is coming
I don't agree with
as
you
a youth
on that
member
point.
of parliament wali badde wankizo nnyo mu youth elections
era,
is taking a place.
It is public knowledge, and you viewers will tell you that omuntu yenna agenda okuparticipatinga mu National Youth Council, the first advice they will give them is to join the ruling government. Why? Because it will use the law as it is and the mechanisms and it's made to make sure that all and I mean all from you look at Kampala, it is a hub for the opposition, with no doubt. However, elections did not happen at the villages. The opposition were blocked out, and you have stated clearly that because they did not have the necessary qualifications. Who decides that they don't have the necessary qualifications? It is the security. I don't know how the security
No, it is the EC
I do not know how the EC, I don't know how the security stops you from lining or being lined behind and a decision that has not been made by the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission nullifies a candidature, for your information, by writing to you. So I've never seen any letter nullifying any of the candidates. But what I've seen is the security stopping people from lining against particular candidates, and also those particular candidates from stepping at a polling station. So that one we can leave it to the public. So by the time that election is done, only one political party has won. So why? Yet it is a public election that has actually have to have a public holiday, that tomorrow we are electing youth leaders at the village. Everybody should know. The youth at work should be given a holiday.
So, Mr. Maseruka, if you state that Kampala is the opposition hub, we all agree. Naye mubanga baba kubya akaluka abavubuka mu kifo we mwewaga nti mulinawo obuwagizi. What does this communicate nga tugenda mu general election?
Kankiddemu tewali kaluka abavubuka mu kibuga, because wekabanga kalunga kali free and fair. Wekabanga kalunga kali free and fair. Outcome yandibadde nkali tukkiriza nti tetuli mu bitundu ebyo eby'eggwanga. Ne outcome yandibadde very clear.
Nebyo mulimu baba kubyemu akaluka.
Yandibadde, no, that was, you see the results. Election is a process. The results can be contested. However, was there actually a meaningful election held? No. It was just some form of thuggery.
Why didn't you contest the results then?
And I'm telling you, in my opinion, and in what we're planning to do, is that we have realized that that will be a short-term remedy. The long-term remedy is to fight and change the law in which the elections of the National Youth Council are conducted from the village to the national level. So fighting for few candidates whereby 5 or 10 people manipulated and passed through the system is not the ultimate solution for the entire country. The problem is with the law and how that election is organized. It should be organized as any other public election, like the general election.
Oli ku Mighty Drive tuberawo every day saa 2 z'okumakya paka sawa nyangenda ku mulango katono nnyo ensonga z'abavubuka, and Mr. Maseruka Sadat is trying his best okulaba nti he defends the weaknesses that are within the political formations nadala ezili ku opposition, but also we need to agree that opposition as it is, it has its own challenges that they are not looking at. Actually, it is the reason why we are seeing a lot of disunity amongst them. But we are going for a short commercial break. When we return, tugenda kubanga twogera political parties zikoledde ki abavubuka, zibateeseteese oba ate zibakozesezza. Very good morning.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes, it can. Although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Second hour of the show ate mwene sawa mba mpitayitako mu comment section okulaba ebibuuzo byammwe oba yo opinions or suggestions so mbakubiriza nnyo okulaba nga ate mukozesa comment section oteekamo ebibuuzo byammwe oba endowooza zammwe osobola okukozesa Facebook at The Alternative Uganda oba TikTok TV ate oba n'okozesa YouTube ku The Alternative Uganda wonna woba otulabidde ekibuuzo kiteeke mu comment section tujja kubanga ate tukiddamu bulungi nnyo tuli ku nsonga z'abavubuka and I have Council Maseruka Sadat here in studios and he is trying as much as he can okulaba nga ate defending the results ezava mu youth elections but I want to tell you Sadat that NRM won youth elections by 80%. Atenga mugamba mbu opposition taking yesinga okubeera n'obuwagizi mu bibuga but also I want you to know that Uganda ngensi eyina ebibuga 11. So if your strongholds muli mu 11 cities nga NRM eyina obuwagizi mu byalo still you need to do much okulaba nga ate mufuna obuwagizi namwe mu byalo because Uganda is made up of villages okusinga ebibuga.
Ekisooka yo submission iyo okugamba nti NRM eri mu byalo opposition eri mu bibuga no nze nakugambye nti it is true and it is a fact that in Kampala it is an opposition hub.
Okay.
Kampala.
At NRM, NRM is not anywhere.
I'm not speaking of anywhere. It's not anywhere.
Okay.
Yes. So it is at least that one. Even here in Kampala, the opposition is ahead of them. However, when we went for the youth elections, whatever happened, whatever confusion that happened, it ended up bringing leaders of the youth. Having been one of the NRM. Dubiously, I have to state this. So it asks and begs the question that really, does this also bring out the frame of the national character? Because as I was telling you, in the law on proportional representation, it is very clear that there are certain things that you cannot fight. That if the opposition, let me say, controls 53% of the youth in this country. Also, it has to come out clearly that 53% is depicted in the national character of the youth leaders. You cannot claim that the country has the majority of the youth, the majority of youth being opposition. But when you go for the youth elections, that yet the reverse becomes the truth. This is not rocket science.
But so, we also know that
we realize that the challenge or the problem as why we get such outcome arises out of the law, arises out of having leaders that are not actually a true representation of the actual young people, the different ideologies that actually comprise of the Ugandan population. So there can never be unity of the young people. They can therefore not shape.
So there's a coalition building between the youths, within the youths.
The coalition building is sola kubeerawo kalisoose ne tutereeza bodies ezitwala abavubuka bonna nga zirwanirira omuvubuka nga ziri bipartisan nga zirwanirira omuvubuka okusinziira ku ki nga omuvubuka bw'atuula ewuwe yeerabamu organization okitegeera. However, this National Youth Council, as it is, majority of the opposition do not find themselves or see themselves in there. Yet it is the reflection and representation of the young people. Yet they serve the interest of one political party.
So it is not inclusive, you say?
Yes.
And you still assert that elections are free and fair as above.
There were no elections.
The reason why you performed the way you performed as the opposition.
There was no election in the meaning of a democratic election. Very simple. A democratic election, a public election have definitions.
So then, what does that speak as we head to 2026 elections? Does that mean we are going to experience the same thing?
I do not want to cast aspersions on things that are yet to come. However, what I can state that there is growing animosity and a shift towards more violence by the young people in this election out of frustration with the current system of governance. You have seen it in actually even in the NRM party primaries that there have been a lot of anger and agitation by the young people to take up leadership positions, and many were able to maneuver through in those elections because of that agitation for a new breed and faces in Uganda's politics.
Okay. Away from the National Youth Council, ja tugende ku youth committees, more political parties, ezamweze belonging. Are these youth political committees doing enough to prepare you to take up positions? Oba nazote zina chezikoze as political parties babatera wawo ka committee ngechigumaza?
Ekisoka growth is personal. However, the youth...
I thought it was collective.
The first thing, growth is personal. Nga gwomuntu inokubanga
wekolamu
omulimu. Secondly, the collective aspect comes in belonging to a formation that
efayo
nyo kulabanga groominga abavubuka nokubateekako at the forefront in whatever they are doing. Echo chiva mu political parties ne youth committees. Mostly youth committees ezimu zafuuka a problem to the political parties because the youth see themselves with their energy, with their aggressiveness, baba mostly against some of the policies of their political parties. So you'll find that the political parties that have tried to put the youth at the forefront have faced a challenge or a scare that these youth may one day take over or overthrow us. You'll find that you can no longer find a political party that gives the youth a semi-autonomous capacity to do whatever they like and only report to the
committees,
to the party, because they believe that these young people at any one time they can organize and take over this institution. So belonging to the youth committees also in some way reduces on one's ambition, because you have to work as a collective, because you have to abide by the party constitution, because you have to abide by some party principles that you may not be believing in. Secondly, there are certain things that you may not be able to do as an individual because you belong to a particular committee that has not endorsed such things. Secondly, you will find that if the top leadership has not taken a deliberate effort to build the young people, it will always be carrying titles of youth leader without any impact that is meaningful to the community and the people that you represent. So you'll find that the political parties all have youth leaders, but very few can come up and speak on issues. Very few can even get interviews on televisions because there is no deliberate effort. There is no way of promoting and
the party leadership
from the party leadership. Yet you'll find that there is a youth belonging to no political formation, however,
being very vocal,
vibrant and visible. So in most cases, because of that scare, there is always a limit and curtailing of the growth of in some political parties to the exclusion of the Democratic Front.
So it is all the same. So kati ngamwe abali these formations mulina magezi, how do you plan okulaba nga musolving ensonga eno? Because as the youths we expect that you get empowered from those political formations that you belong to, but then wembanga mulina abakulembeze aba living in fear that if we empower these youths they might overthrow us. So what are your plans?
Ekisooka ekyokwagala okuoverthrowinga kiva ku insecurity y'aba leaders abamu tebakifaako. Abamu bamanyi that at any one moment this organization will be inherited by
another person.
Secondly, it is also an issue that the youth must deliberately not look at the youth positions only in political parties. Yes, I am the head of the Human Rights Committee, and I would have said that I want to be in the Youth League. So we should go for positions that make us visible. We should ask for more responsibilities outside the youth positions. We should aspire for positions that actually take us more direct to the people than claiming to be an interest group.
But if you are not prepared for that, how can you osobola otya okulamuza ekifo waggulu nenga tebakuteeseteese?
You see okuteekateeka kikulu niyo n'okwekkiririzamu kikulu nti obanga tofunye omukisa okuteekateeka leka opportunity ogikozese oyigire ku mulimu. Naye ngawe nkugambye nti obudde abasinga bwe batwala mu kweteekateeka nga bavubuka ate bagenda okumala okweteekateeka nga tebakyali ki bavubuka nga tebakyasobola ate kulembera baki bavubuka. So opportunity bwejja olina ogikozesa and you learn from the job. Secondly, tulina okwokkiririzamu that we can do anything as long as we are able to seek for guidance and support from our colleagues. There are those abavubuka nga spring up without any form of nurturing. However, upon attaining a certain level, they realize that they need to be nurtured. Yes. However, but after securing those positions. So, tutunulire beyond the youth positions. Uyagala kwesimba kuba youth leader, uyagala kwesimba National Youth Council, yet you can be an MP, you can be a mayor, you can be a direct councillor, you can be anything, be outside the youth spaces and the opportunities there to take those positions. So, shaping up politics, to know looking beyond the youth positions. Strategically, there are certain positions we can occupy in our little capacities, whether we have been nurtured or not, because we are not going to force somebody to nurture you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Tetujja kuba forcing, but those are the things that we expect from leaders. As a leader, you need to groom people that should come after you. You don't have to be in a position and you expect you'll be there for good. But away from the political leadership and all those formations, tugenda ku system ya Uganda. Do you think the Ugandan system is ready for youth leadership? System nga bweri nga bwe tugiraba. Olowooza nti eri ready for youth leadership?
There is no time where leadership has never been ready. The people.
But let us look at the system of the country as it is.
The system of the country is very ready. What is the system? We are talking about the people. Whereby if the 90% of the population...
But who is making up those people?
Whereby where 90% or let me say...
Majority of the population
is young.
But the young people are not having positions of power.
Yes, and
so they do not influence any policies.
And what I was saying is very clear. These are the critical masses that determine an election. These are the critical masses that determine policy shifts. So the only missing link is them to present themselves to offer leadership, because they have done all the things. If there is a need for a policy shift, it will be the youth that will agitate for that shift. If there is a need for showing up and turning up in numbers to elections, it will be those young people. So the only missing link is the young people presenting themselves as leaders to spearhead these changes. So the country is ready for the youth leadership. However, they have not yet galvanized around the capable leaders amongst themselves to take over, because they are supporting others and they are doing it passionately. They are pushing for changes in the laws and policies passionately. However, they have not gotten an avenue where there is a young person with the capabilities to lead the change they so desire. So the country is ready. The system is ready. However, it is us, the young people, to shape up, rise up and rise to the occasion, not as supporters, but as leaders.
Nenga bwogambye nti waliwo abavubuka tuli bangi, we agree. Naye kimanyi nti buli election tubeera ne low voter turn up. Low voter turn up ngate abavubuka tugamba tuli bangi nnyo, ate we are awake to the realities of the country and the political issues that are happening, but still we experience low voter turn up. What is causing that? Is it the fear, the mistrust, or the violence that is happening in the elections?
Low voter turn out is bintu bingi. Ekisooka the too much violence that is depicted pre-elections. So, for instance, whatever the violence ebadde mu kalulu k'abavubuka, violence ebadde mu kalulu ka NRM primaries, casting a doom to the general elections. So very many people, especially women and all people that have a lot to lose in terms of work, in terms of employment, they will not present themselves to vote, or they will not be available to vote. Second, it is the loss of hope and the marginalization of the will of the people. Nti abantu okera kumacha na alonda na ne badetermining ntono gwe twagala tukulembere.
Yes.
At the end of the day ne balangirira atakoze atali kusalawo kwabwe. So ekyo kigenda kiba temmeme okuddamu okujja bayisimba.
So they do not trust.
But demo okwesimba because they have lost hope in the way elections are conducted. They have lost trust in ways how the leader, the winner is determined. So Olina agamba whether I come or not, at the end of the day, there is a predetermined person to choose. However, we emphasize that that cannot be an issue to stop young people to participate in elections. Yeah. Yes, let we come and speak in large numbers. Let we make the decisions as we see as we deem it fit. Let then wait for that decision to be altered. Because tosobola ku complaining nga tukoze eki to participate in the yes. In the past or in some situations there has been a change of the will of the people. However, continue and make that vote of yours count, because it is not about only voting, it's about participating in the process, voting and protecting that vote.
Kakati mwe abagala oba abegwanyiza ebifo ebimu oba bagenda okuparticipating in this election that ketuyingira muteeseteese mutya abavubuka bano okulaba nti first they don't shy away from voting ate ne mindset yabwe ekyuke ku results eziva mu kulonda. Not everyone that participates in an election should come out as a winner. I think voters need to understand that. That even when you participate in an election, chances are high that you might lose or you might win. And that does not stop you from participating again.
Yes. Abantu tebagwamu suubi mu kulonda ntulwokuba baluzinze. Bagwamu suubi mu byokulonda olwokuba nti process tebadde free and fair. Nga process ebadde mad with violence. There are olina akera ku macha ku police station sawa 2 ebyokulonsa ne bijja sawa 8 olina tuko okulonda mu nkala z'abalonzi taliimu olina atuuka ngate yewandiisa olina atuuka okulonda nga mu lwatu. So the process okubeera free and fair yereetera abantu okuluzinga hope participating in the election process, not them losing.
You have always complained about the process not being free and fair, but again, you go ahead to participate in a process that you deem not free and fair.
Yes.
So, why do you expect different results?
We are not
after participating in the same process. That hasn't changed.
You see, we have always and we are passionate about the issue of electoral reforms. As the Democratic Front, and we are well aware of the current challenges that we are having. However, it is, for instance, when you want to go to school, and they tell you that yes, whereas you are going to school, so far the school has not built a classroom it has not built a laboratory, but they're offering science classes. So the question is, will you stay at home for the next 1 or 2 years old, you study as they are building the laboratory for the practicals? So that is what we are in. We are pushing for electoral reforms. However, as they are on their way, we are supposed to participate in the process as it is, so that we do not give a leeway to the continued impunity.
So mugamba nti katugende to participating yadde tetusuubirayo kyanjawulo, tetusuubira results zituzaamu maanyi, so you are merely participating.
We are participating, not expecting different results.
Not expecting any difference.
We are participating because without participation we cannot push for the reforms that we are seeking for. That's why we are saying that the electoral processes must have electoral reforms. However, if they delay to come, does that mean we let people participate in an election the way it is, and we should let only one side dominate also the fraud process?
Singa mwe abawakanya ekibiina ekiri mu buyinza, singa mwe ekolamu omulimu ne mugamba nti we are not going to legitimize this election olw'ensonga nti it has never been free and fair bukyanga tufuna multi-party dispensation, and we are saying we are not participating in an election that is conducted in that way, and so we see that the opposition of Uganda isn't participating in an election.
You see, toina control to the opposition of Uganda. Because
what is opposition? Work around
moving slowly. There is no political party called opposition in Uganda. Do you agree there is no political party that is called opposition in Uganda?
And no one has said that, but we say.
You are saying, you are making a collective of opposition whereby people have different ideas and aspirations. While you, Abakugama, we are not going to go for elections without meaningful electoral reforms. While you are that, yes, whereas we are pushing for electoral reforms, we shall participate in the process as is, so that we put more pressure to have electoral reforms. There are those that will be comfortable to participate in an election as is. So, Wogambanti, the opposition should shun the entire election. My question is, there is nothing that can create such an atmosphere, because opposition political parties are not one entity. And the unity you are talking about, is viewed differently, because the issue of common concern can be in other different avenues. I can disagree, I can agree not to participate in an election, but I can agree to support another candidate. I can agree to participate in that election, but again, to help other candidates to protect their votes. So the issue of saying that we can all shun an election has never, where in the world have you ever found a political competition whereby it is only one political setting without an independent, because the ruling government will at least bring an opposition candidate to legitimize that election. We cannot allow that. That's why we are saying participation, while we are seeking for reforms, has to be a must, so that we do not
who are
allow
the people seeking these reforms?
The people seeking for these reforms are the people of the Republic of Uganda through their representatives in the opposition.
And for how long have they taken seeking reforms?
There were reforms there were reforms that were actually determined and decided by court. And those are the reforms we are talking about. When in the 2016 election, the Amamba Mbabazi petition, court said that the following should be organized so that we have a free and fair election. Those elements that the court talked about, the Supreme Court, are some of the reforms that we are talking about. These reforms have not in any way been implemented or be given an opportunity to be implemented, including others that have been presented by members of parliament. And these are meant to safeguard the integrity of the election, the access to national media by all contestants, the campaigning time, and in places, and security of candidates in an election, and also the conduct and transmission of elections electronically from the village to the National Tally Center. Those are the things that have not been worked upon.
So what gives you the hope to think or to believe that these reforms are going to be implemented in the same system that hasn't implemented them for the years that have passed?
I do not understand the question.
Reforms is, Ogambye omukulu Amama Mbabazi yatekawo omusango and the court ruled, and you are saying ebyo ebyayogerwa bye muli kusiikinga bikolebwe as reforms. Kakati kiki ekibawa okukkiriza nti bino bigenda kukolebwa in the same system gye muzze mulwanyisa?
First of all, it was not a decision, it was not a request by court. It's a judgment of court.
But we have seen judgments being disrespected. Is it the first time?
And we are waiting on to that, because we are telling you that court determined and told you that this must happen before going for an election, and that is in black and white.
Yes.
Yes. The only opportunity
will that stop an election happen?
The opportunity we had towards solving that problem was when we went for the 2021 election.
Yes.
This case that was filed was withdrawn prematurely, because that would have been the first ground that there is contempt of the previous orders that were given by this honorable court. We are waiting, and we are going, if not they implement
omusango gwa omukulu ow'ekibiina kya NUP gwe yateekayo mu kooti gw'ogamba nti gwali bawadde omwaganya okulaba nga ate muteeka obuzito ku government okubanga eteeka mu nkola kooti bye yali esazeewo.
Because the only way to implement a court order it's not an issue of cherry picking what orders to follow, not by any person in this country.
Chito.
However, the only way to bring your issues before court is by going again before court.
True.
We had an opportunity that we did not exploit. And we are telling you that, yes, we are very optimistic that the moment
you are going to have an opportunity in 2026
yes,
again.
Any moment the opportunity is presented, I can, and when such anomalies are not rectified, we may see surprise in this in that petition.
Talking about the petition, how do you rate the NUP effect kubavubuka?
What do you mean?
The people power movement and all that, you know, everything that came with the people power and everything.
Well, it was an opportunity to bring on young people, very many that had been elsewhere, not participating in politics, to start having interest in the politics of their country. However, whereas it was a good initiative, it did not also create safeguards on to train them and take them through steps on how a good leader behaves. Yeah. So whereas it brought very many people and created awareness amongst a largest section of the population that was not concerned about politics, it at the same time did not provide the safeguards and avenues of giving them the right message and ideology for which to follow in exercising their freedoms and rights. So
the reason why they started the leadership school?
The leadership school, I don't know what is taught there. I've never been there, and I don't like to comment about it. Well, I'm only commenting about the conduct of the people that I'm seeing. I don't know whether they went to the leadership school or not, or there are those that went to the leadership school and they trained to behave in that way, which I don't agree with. But however, keeping other factors constant, the leadership school being available, it is a step in the right direction to show that whereas you are energetic enough, you have an understanding and a following of the politics of your country, you at the same time must exercise those rights responsibly and without infringing on others, without spreading hatred and any form of malicious content. So the issue is that it was a novel idea, a brilliant ushering in of vibrant young leaders in the country. However, it did not anticipate the conduct of many of these of its followers, and the only way to conduct and control the narrative is by taking and nurturing, training and teaching them of the true ideology the party professes, the communication structures of the party, and how to conduct themselves as representatives of that institution. When
we look at the things the way they are, it seems, it looks like they identified that gap, the reason why they started the leadership school to kind of, you know, bridge the gap. Basobola okubanga ate batandikira ddala okufulumya abakulembeze abajjudde naye nga tuvudde ku nsonga enjala tugendeko ku tuli mu digital era and I want us to analyze how youths are using these digital tools okulaba nga they are trying to kind of push back or even advocate for their rights. Tulaba from Twitter spaces to TikTok lives, olaba nti the youths are loud. Why is this not translating into votes and some kind of energy ground?
Virtual spaces ziri available globally. Era determinant ya virtual spaces a rhyming and internet penetration mu ggwanga. So the level of internet penetration in Uganda ekyali wansi. So that is why nti message online tegenda wala nnyo
mu byalo etali internet.
Yes, olw'okuba nti the penetration ekyali wansi. Secondly, the costs of purchasing and having internet data. Nti oli ne bwabanga internet waaliwe etuukawo naye omuwendo gwasasula okujja accessinga guli waggulu, so nagwo ne gureducinga the spread of that information downwards. Secondly, also the penetration of smartphones in this country. Yes, people can communicate, at least everybody has a phone, at least every village there is a phone.
There is a
at
phone.
least
There is
at
a
every
smartphone.
village, at least at every village, there is somebody that has a phone number. But that doesn't mean that at every village or in every household there is a WhatsApp or there is a smartphone. So kakati, remember that digital tools and digital communication largely rhymes with a smartphone. Secondly, also the atmosphere or the virtual space is a global space. Until you may have a conversation online that is contributed to by majority of people that are outside the jurisdiction of Uganda. But because it is a virtual space, it is for all global citizens. So you'll find that there is a different demand at the ground because they have no avenue to exercise their views online, different from what the online community has. Because the online community is now international. It is thinking globally. But what does our villages, our communities talk about?
Ground.
Yes. So echo chiretawo some level of imbalance. However, the penetration of internet, so far as it is, we are in the right direction because it has determined a lot of things in this country in terms of policy shift, in terms of holding accountable to most of the leaders, in terms of reducing that bureaucracy and space between you filing a complaint, receiving feedback. You can do so online. And now you'll find that we are interacting directly with our leaders without having formally to move from, let me say, Matuga to come to Kampala and air out your complaint. It also it has created also an avenue of airing out people's frustrations, other than the ways that the frustrations were being held. However, nacho weakening activism.
How?
Nti activism really physical. People will demonstrate, people will agitate, and they will come to the streets. Now, they will form an online space. They will fight online. They will agitate virtually. They will create an hashtag, which to governments like the one we have here...
Doesn't this create an impact?
It creates a very small impact than when they know that that people in this area, business are closed, there is no revenue, no car is moving, people are demonstrating, they are out in numbers to show that they are dissatisfied with particular action. However, it has some elements that are...
So isn't there a way the youths can use these digital tools to do political organizing?
Yes, they can. They can.
In what ways?
The way youth are organizing themselves in Kenya is that the youth identify issues of common concern. They galvanize their demands and issues, agitating for a policy shift and government action in that direction. However, the challenge is that Kenya has 80% internet penetration. Uganda is still lagging behind. The cost of internet data in Kenya is very low compared to that of Uganda. The penetration of technology in Kenya has surpassed that of Uganda. So that is why if a campaign starts online in Kenya, it ends up in the communities, and the communities back that up with support on the streets. In Uganda, it starts online, ends online.
There is something that started online and it actually ended on the ground. The March to Parliament. March to Parliament started online on Twitter. Didn't it end on the ground?
Yes, it was a very commendable approach towards using digital tools to agitate for social change in Uganda. And it was the first of its kind that people online were able to agitate against corruption and actually follow it up by galvanizing the grassroots to march to Parliament. However, when you look at the subsequent events that happened thereafter, it shows that there was no clear direction over that particular activism. However, we agree that it is commendable and it was a step in the right direction. However, it is also not without challenges that I have earlier talked about. Nti mu Uganda internet wa bay. Mu Uganda internet teri buli wamu.
Nti abantu abamu tebabimanya balaba bulabi bavubuka ku street.
Yes, also ne literacy levels, because these social media platforms, you must have some level of literacy to operate them, and also to read and follow the messages that are there. Yes. So also this one also, whereas people may want to be interested, they do not have the intellectual capacity to read and follow, and also to make comments, and also to be part of that campaign.
Oyogedde nogamba nti online activism ayina engeri gyayononyemu physical activism.
Yes.
Nti abantu abali bajjanga ku street ne demanding for what they feel better go kubifuna tekikyabeerawo. So how then do we bridge the gap between keyboard warriors namwe the physical activists abali ku ground?
There is nothing unique. Oku bridging a gap eyo nkidamu ichiva having a correlation with what is being demanded for online and what is actually the demands
happening
on the ground. Yes, otuka ku online space or online hashtag nga demand zaayo zili kangambe
ziri
far-fetched and more realistic. Now, ku ground bad demanding bintu biri basic. So kati correlation yeyo chovola banti march to parliament yali able reaching the ground because corruption was an issue that is identified by all Ugandans at the grassroots and in the online spaces. They were seeing the effects of that corruption. They were seeing the money being spent on corruption was affecting not only those that are in online spaces, but also even those at the grassroots. So there must be identification of issues of common cause that bridge and that surpass the online spaces and individuals at the grassroots.
All levels.
That's the only solution.
Wow, show yaffe etambudde era tunaatera okuba nga ate tugimaliriza naye ekijja kuba unfair nga tetunuulidde ku challenges abavubuka abali mu kwegwanyiza ebifo bino ebyobukulembeze ze bali mu kufeesinga nga banoonya obukulembeze buno. You being one of those that are contesting for a position mu the coming election, what are those challenges ze muli mu kufeesinga as the youths?
Yes, abavubuka in an election challenges ziri biri. Esooka, it is the social construct. Society yaffe ya constructing wanti mwina kulembera muntu mukulu. So abavubuka ebeesobolayo okusaba ebifo eby'obuvunanyizibwa mu bifo eby'amaanyi, sometimes batwalibwanga abatalina bumanyirivu bumala okutwala society maaso. Batwalibwanga abatalina buvunanyizibwa bumala okubanga bakulembera abantu. So abantu ne babanga tebakuwa mukisa kuwuliriza oba kuwa opportunity kusavinga olw'okubanga ba atakinze ejiyo ku busobozi bwo oba byosobola okukolera eggwanga n'abantu. N'ekirala nti politics wa Uganda are so commercialized, and in the 2026 elections, we expect to have the highest commercialized election. Really, according to reports, really, that an election is between 2,000 to 5,000. Neyambuka netuka to 5,000 to 20,000. At 10,000, 50,000 and above. Okubanga bagula akalulu. So you find that abavubuka abasinga challenge eyo bayamanyi nti otuuka mu bantu nga bakizimba mu bonti omukulembeze naye nakutuwa sente
nakutugula.
So on top of that abavubuka tebalina such kind of resources kubanga yakava mu university oba yakakola emyaka 2 oba 5 talina sente ezo zimala kugenda nga agula abantu so that bamulonda ate n'okulonda omuntu nga amaze okugula it is bad practice in politics. So challenges zitulolekedde ziri one culture and social constructs nti tebatera nnyo ku believing nti abavubuka basobola okuba ab'omugaso kati babasuubira kuba bamugaso mu maaso, so ne bagaana okutuwa obuvunaanyizibwa kati nga beekwasa emyaka n'ebintu ebirala obuntu obutonotono. Then ne tudda ne ku kya ssente, omuwendo gw'olina okuteekamu okulaba nga olondebwa
gwe mutalina
gwe tutalina ng'abavubuka.
Kati mu planninze kukola ki, because the monetization of politics is here and I don't think it is going to go away in the next 5 years.
Yes, and I want to tell you, and I'm actually following the election of the NRM, ojja kumanya nti sente is not the maker of a leader. It is actually the message that you have for the people and the aspirations that you want to bring in your community. Nti abasinga mwaka akalulu, by the way, balina sente impitirivu naye ate be basinga okukubwa akalulu. Njogerako abasimba n'abavubuka, you will go in West Nile, you will go in Eastern Uganda, nti abavubuka bawangula ebifo nga tebalina sente naye olw'okuba message gye baali batuuse eri abantu. So solution abavubuka gye tulina okuba nti we must be well grounded in our message. What do we want to do for the people? What are our views in regards to leadership that we find that can take the people from one step to another? N'abantu abaweebwa sente tebakikola lwakuba nti it is their occupation, because elections happen once in 5 years. So naye beetaaga services ennungi, beetaaga ekitiibwa, era beetaaga okukolerwa ebintu ebyolubeerera. Togenda kusuubira nti ojja kubibakolera nga tusoose crafting a message ebatuukako galvanizing abantu abo bonna. Era most cases abantu abateekawo sente okulondebwa taba na message. N'ekirala aba abika inefficiencies, abadde ebisanja 4, asadde ebisanja 5 nga answers zalina okubawa, it is by silencing them with money. So eyo si approach avuka gye balina okwetaaga. Kwetaaga ku crafting a message kubeera nga orizonatinga ne population n'ebiruubiro lwa population n'okuyimirira mu aspirations nti wetukola bwe tuti tugenda ekitundu kyaffe kijja kukola ki, kijja ku advancing nga n'okusaba obwesige nga tuli respectful. Kuba osanga oli nga olw'okuba muvubuka ayagala kuvuganya, so ayagala ata abakadde bonna bali ku kyala asooka abayiseemu amaaso olw'okuba asuubira nti bajja kuwagira mukadde munnaabwe. Naye niwerabira nti nabo balina abaana tebandiyagadde kulaba muzadde waabwe nga disrespectingibwa. So ebyo byonna wetuba nga neneeyisa yaffe wetugikwatako kitutwala mu maaso okulaba nti tufuna obwesige nga tetutaddeemu nakyamaanyi n'olwa message gye twagala n'ebyo bye tulina mu bwongo okuweereza abantu ba.
But some political analysts allege that mwe ng'abavubuka temulina busobozi bubasobozesa ku taking up these positions, yadde nga babawa space okulaba kugamba nti okay tukusimbyewo jangu ovuganye ku kyaka tugeze nga Kampala MP, nti mwe ng'abavubuka temulina capacity eyo, nti okugjako kyemumanyi nti twakoye dictator agende, you do not have the skills, you do not have the capacities of a leader, so tebasobola kubanga babawa obukulembeze that you have not built yourself for.
A narrative weri
nchamu
because abavuka be interactinga nabo be bayitanga babagazaako kintu kimu, kutimba bipande, kunoonya kalulu, kulwana na kuuma boxing obulukola ki
bulondebwa.
So kati having a conversation n'omuntu ngo atamanyi nti yes, they are young people that have created themselves and built themselves to offer leadership. Tajja kitwa because ye kifaananyi kyalina ekyomuvubuka yoli gwadiringa naye
gwatambula naye ku
era question entuufu yandibadde nti whereas oyagala ogamba nti abavubuka they are not ready, bameka b'ogulumiza okubeera nga bataking a space gwe gyolimu before castigating abalala bokola ki.
But then why are you waiting to be groomed?
Nanti ogambye nti they are not ready to take spaces. They are not capable of taking spaces.
Because temu building the skills is your skills are really
skills.
Basic.
Yes, the basic skills I can agree to a large extent that some of the young people tebaina the basic capabilities okukola ebintu ebimu. However, gwe ngali concerned what initiative you're taking okulaba nti at least in my community wabeerawo abali capable to take over, because you are not going to be there forever. Secondly, it is not true nti abavubuka tebeezimbye. What is true is that abavubuka babateekamu embeera nti olw'okuba muli bavubuka, olw'okuba mulina amaanyi, ekyammwe kirina kubeera ki gwe guno omugabo gwabwe mu struggle.
Kyakozesa maanyi si bwongo.
Munakozesa maanyi si bwongo. Kati ne ba making sure ne beerabira nti basobola okuweebwa opportunities and ate ne ba performing excellently nga teziri siza kukozesa amaanyi siza kukozesa mibiri. Naye olw'okuba nti opportunity eyo tenabeera available, oli bwakugambira nti temuli ready ku taking over lwansonga nti batuulawe bati mu meeting omuvuka gwe balowoozaako yoli ajja okujja mu kiseera ky'okwekalakaasa, mu kiseera ky'okutimba ebipande, ne bagamba nti n'oyo yennyini oyo wabanga wedde obuvunaanyizibwa nti kati gwakulira abavubuka ku kyalo kino era ajja kuteekawo obukulembeze obwavubuka obulungi, naye olw'okuba nti kiri mu mindset yaabo abakozesa abavubuka nti omuvubuka ali bw'ati.
Lwaki abavubuka muli mu kukkiriza babakozese?
Tetukkiriza batukozese.
Systems zibaleetera okukozesebwa.
Tugamba nti sealing eyo yateekebwawo ne creatingibwa mu mbeera nti aba controlling opportunities, dominating a means of survival and opportunities, but take away embeera nti the only opportunity that is available for a young person to participate. For instance, oli wabanga constituting a campaign team ye, tajja kugamba nti omuvubuka gundi yababeera chief campaign manager wange oba yaba spokesperson wa campaign yange. No, yajja ku making sure nti wekituuka ebyemifumbi ebyokulanjaga nonya bavubuka wana
timu yange abavubuka tuzimbe eggaali,
nonya bavubuka wana banamperekera nga betodde emotoka yange, nonya bavubuka banno. So kati sikukkiriza kukozesebwa. However, the available opportunities where we want to contribute to change ze bakuteereddewo. It is only when we was to gather that enough is enough. Kino sikyaddamu kikola, kino sobola kukikola. Also, the levels of poverty we are having. Those that control the means, they want to employ you or to use you as they deem fit. So, the only way to also challenge that abavubuka kwe kunoonya their own source of livelihood. Kubanga oli wabanga opportunity jasobola okuwa yakubeera bounce awo. Because ajja kuba kusasula. Okitegeera. However, akozesa mubiri gotakozesa ki? Bwongo obwo. So the only solution to that is getting gainful employment, so that osobola okukozesa obwongo obwo nti wejja ku table naawe otesanga abalala, because you are not controlled by any other person that is controlling your means of survival. So it is about economic empowerment of the young people. Okay. It's about creation of awareness amongst the young people that whereas we are energetic, we are also intellectually fit to occupy and represent in certain spaces, that we can have our own resources that we can use in advancing our ideas, so that we are not used by those that are actually controlling these spaces.
Okay. Nga tumaliriza njagala twogere ku nsonga ey'okuzimba eggaali. Because eggaali zino ezizimbiddwa zibeera mu bavubuka. We have never seen all the people mu ggaali ezo. Naye nga tuwitnessinga primary za NRM, twalaba violence yakolebwa eggaali ezazimbibwa. Omukulembeze w'ekibiina ekimu yagamba abaagala okwesimbawo n'agamba nti muzimbe eggaali zammwe, eggaali ezo zijja bayambako okuuma akalulu kammwe. But we want to analyze the impact of eggaali zino after election. Zigenda kuba zikola ki? Because even during election tutandise okulaba walaba clip eyayita ensambi awo wona nga abaana bajjudde mu kubo bakusanga ku boda bakunyakulako esimba bakunyakulako ensawo, as in amaduka nga bagayingira. These are the gangs that we are building to protect obululu bwaffe bwe tulowooza nti buyinza okubbibwa.
First of all, I received a different definition
of a gali. What is your definition of a gali?
We are not the initiators of the word egali.
Gwe okiwulira ki ekikujira?
Mpulira a gang. However, according to the narrative of those that are talking about
creating a guard,
they are talking of something totally different, which I would give them a benefit of doubt. However, what I will talk about is the increased apathy, unemployment and criminality amongst the youth in areas that we call the ghettos. Yes, anti bebana abavubuka aba losing a hope in society. Bebavubuka abatalina mirimu. Bebavubuka abali educated, bright and energetic naye nga babuliddwa diverting n'okuteeka amaanyi gaabwe. So election times bwe zituuka, because they are idle, they are energetic and intelligent, babeera bali available
to do anything to change their station in life.
What has been unfortunate is that the government has not come out to find solutions to these people in form of creating for them employment. But they have come out also to see and exploit the opportunity to use them as militias in an election. So it is creating a huge cycle of violence in these communities. Nti wajja kubeerayo eggaali kangambe opposition. Wabeerayo n'eggaali ruling government. So in the clash there, we do not know what will happen thereafter. However, it is the role of government to protect every citizen and to provide avenues for gainful employment for every citizen. So creation, things like PDM, would have been the right decisions to see that these people find what to do to sustain themselves, other than galvanizing them and creating them into formations that are vote protecting tools and vote hunting tools.
Abavubuka nanti mwagala nnyo sente ez'amangu, because babaterawo initiatives ezibawa sente nga PDM, you do not go to involve yourselves in such initiatives.
PDM okujoogerako si kujoogerako that it is the best intervention that we are having.
It is one of the initiatives that
it is an existing initiative, but not one of the best initiatives that is meant to elevate and uplift.
But there has been a lot of initiatives for the young people. Skilling Uganda is there.
You see, the issue is that when you're fighting symptoms, you can never cure a disease. So whereas there have been many initiatives, youth livelihood program, what, those are just symptoms. What is the problem? The problem is in the governance of this country. The problem is in having leaders that do not retire. So where would a young person with a PhD who has been trained to work in a hospital get a job when the existing surgeon is at 90 years old and is not retiring? And it goes back to all other levels of employment in the civil service and elsewhere, and even in politics. So you giving such a person 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, it is just trying to fight a symptom, but leaving the actual disease. So abavubuka tebagala sente z'amangu, naye ate abavubuka tebagala kubeera mu situation eya desperacy. Byoyogerako okwagala sente z'amangu is as a result of the desperate situation that they have been put in. What comes at the moment when you are desperate is to act the way you are acting. You cannot leave your home having left your children at home without food, and you are finding somebody moving freely in a country where you believe that you also have equal shares, moving with a smartphone of 3 million Uganda shillings when you're looking for only 200,000 Uganda shillings to take your child to school. Chufulaba nti bebavaayo ko nga bazze ne balaba ebitundu ebirala ebya Uganda bamaliriza batandise kubba abantu, because they do not see themselves in that Uganda. They find that actually these people that are having these things, they're actually enjoying the privileges that they would have been into. So it is the level of desperacy, the level of living, alienating certain communities out of the development of this country that is creating this situation. Example njakuwa ya apartheid in South Africa, that the white community and the black communities were separated by a fence. But once in a while they could spill over, not to see the kind of development that the other side, but to steal and bring this side because they feel that the things that are the other side are supposed to be this side.
Yeah, sure.
So the level of desperation that the people are put into, alienating them from the economy, creates a situation whereby nobody is safe.
Okay, thank you so much, Council Maseruka Sadat. Nga tumaliriza show yaffe y'olunaku lwa leero nkusaba olekereyo omuvubuka message.
Yes, abavubuka mbagamba nti twenyigire mu byobufuzi by'eggwanga byaffe mu mbeera zonna zisobola. Osobola okwesimbawo, osobola owagira abavubuka banno, era osobola okweteekateeka okuba citizen omulungi. Tekitegeeza nti olina kwesimbawo oba olina kwogerako byabufuzi.
To be a good citizen.
Olina okuba nga really you participate gainfully in the economy of this country. You contribute to policy changes and shifts in this country that are for pro-youth and for pro-people. Ti abavubuka tuwenyo obudde okweguroominga, okweteekateeka nti there is time whereby the country will be relying on you. But you must be at that time also ready to hold and take on the mantle. So I leave you with a message that with hope, the youth shall shape Uganda's politics.
Well, thank you so much, Council Maseruka Sadat. It has been great having a conversation with you. Naddala ekwatira ddala ku bavubuka ensonga z'abavubuka and how they should participate in this election okulaba nga ate influencing the results ze tuyinza okufuna mu 2026. Mbadde balabi balungi abatambudde naffe okuva ali we tutandikidde ku ssaawa 2 ne Mighty Global Updates ate paka wano we tuwunzikidde show yaffe ey'olunaku lwa leero. Nja kubaagaliza olunaku olungi tusinkane olunaku olw'enkya esaawa zigenda kubeera 2 and Kenneth will be here giving you the updates that happened ate mu bitundu mwoba tewabadde. Mbere bulungi mweraba.
When